Kupiansk is back under Ukrainian control. The Cardia Corps of the National Guard confirmed that the last pockets of Russian forces in the city on the Osil River have been surrounded and cleared. Small groups still attempting to slip in through the tree lines are being hunted down in twos and threes. Hold that thought for a moment. On the 20th of November, Vladimir Putin stood at a command post and was told that Kupiansk had fallen. A general received a Hero of Russia award for delivering that report. 6 months later, the city he was said to have captured now flies a Ukrainian flag over its council building. The army that was meant to advance north from there is bleeding faster than Moscow can replace it. This is not merely a setback. It is a plan unraveling in public. What is not widely reported is what that failed northern advance was intended to achieve, and how it affects money, oil, and markets this week. It is the 23rd of May, 2026, and the front line has revealed something the official briefings have not. Kupiansk may not be well known in the United States. Most would struggle to place it on a map, but it is a pivot point in the war. It sits on both sides of the Osil River in the Kefe region. It is a transport hub, with roads and railways running back toward Kefe and south through Izium toward Slovian and Kramatorsk, cities Russia has tried to capture for 3 years. A Ukrainian battalion commander summed it up plainly. If Kupiansk falls, Russian convoys move straight through. This was never about a single town. It was about a gateway. Here is what actually occurred. The story is more complex than a simple recapture. Russia did not storm Kupiansk in one assault. They acted quietly and strategically. Beginning in late 2024, after crossing the Osil, small groups of Russian troops infiltrated the city. They did not make themselves known. They occupied basements, building shells, cellar networks, and pipes, remaining hidden for months. By last autumn, the situation became dangerous. Ukrainian command then took decisive action. A dedicated search and strike unit built around the Cardia formation was assembled, incorporating the 13th Cardia Brigade, an assault regiment, a mechanized brigade, and intelligence service legionnaires, with a single mission: cut supplies, encircle the forces inside, and clear the city building by building. Consider the difficulty of this task. The enemy is invisible until revealed. Every doorway is a question, every basement uncertain. Ukraine countered with drones. Reconnaissance quadcopters monitored overhead, thermal imaging detected body heat and darkness, and first-person view strike drones entered through windows. Once a holdout was located and confirmed, it was struck precisely, sometimes clearing only a single room. A Russian strongpoint in the city's central hospital was neutralized after drone reconnaissance pinned its location. The reported kill ratio during the Kupiansk operation was roughly 1 to 27 in Ukraine's favor. Even if that figure is generous, having it still indicates catastrophic losses for the attacking force. Here, Russia was defending what it claimed. Now, back to the command post in November, where the story moves from battlefield to power, pride, and the cost of deception. General Sergei Kaf reported full capture of Kupiansk to Putin. On the 9th of December, he received the Hero of Russia title for this. On the 12th of December, the Ukrainian president visited the Kupiansk sector, which one does not do in a lost city. By the 19th, Zelensky noted that the general who had claimed the city's fall had effectively disappeared following Ukraine's counterattack. He later reappeared, reporting new victories. The Ukrainian flag was raised over the council building in January, and clearing operations have continued until this week. Ukrainian commanders now describe full control, with Russian infiltration attempts detected more frequently and mostly neutralized. This demonstrates that Russia's reporting chain is compromised. When a general receives a medal for a city not held, every subordinate learns to report what leadership wishes to hear. This is not a minor administrative issue. It undermines strategic decision-making. It also raises the question of how much of what Putin believes about his front line is accurate. Why should an American watching their 401k care about a river town in Kefe? Because of where Russia intended to deploy the troops, it is now lost. This is the point the title highlights, and the evidence is recent. On the 5th of May, after a meeting with his top military and intelligence chiefs, Zelensky stated that Ukrainian intelligence assessed Russia is planning offensive operations on the Cherny-Kiev axis. Cherny is the northern direction. That is where Russian columns came from in February 2022 when they attempted to seize the capital in a weekend and were stopped outside it. Zelensky also noted that Russia is preparing a new mobilization wave of around 100,000 personnel and that Belarus may serve as the launch platform. This is the 100,000-man figure. It is not speculative. It is a public assessment by the head of state. Discipline matters here. An assessment is not a fact on the ground. Today, there's not a 100,000-man force massed on the Belarusian border advancing toward Kiev. What exists is a declared Russian intent, a mobilization plan, and the machinery being readied. The warming up is visible. Between the 18th and 21st of this month, Russia and Belarus conducted joint nuclear exercises. Iskander short-range missile systems, Su-25 jets configured for nuclear payloads, and missile units practiced covert deployment to firing positions. Russia's defense ministry reported the exercise involved over 64,000 troops and nearly 8,000 pieces of equipment, drawing in strategic missile forces in 2 fleets. The BBC's Russian service assessed that the drill would likely engage most of Russia's roughly 320 nuclear-capable intercontinental missile launchers. This is unusual and significant. Russia typically runs large nuclear exercises in October, every autumn since 2022. This one was in May, earlier than usual, and unannounced. Conducting a nuclear exercise next door to a country you are fighting is not just about readiness. It is a message directed at Kiev, Washington, and Brussels regarding the West's willingness to continue support. Putin has repeatedly used nuclear rhetoric over 4 years, mostly when losing ground. The timing can be read 2 ways, either confidence or as a response to a conventional plan that has faltered. It appears to be the latter. Russia's spring and summer plan had a structure. Advance in the east against the fortress belt of Donetsk, Slovian, and Kramatorsk. Hold the line in the south. Free up enough forces to threaten Kyiv through Cherny, stretching Ukraine thin. Kupiansk was a hinge in that plan, a hub for a northern push. But to push north requires troops, and troops are Russia's fastest depleting resource. The math is stark. Ukraine's Unmanned Systems Forces commander, callsign Magwar, reported that in the first 19 days of May, Ukrainian drones alone struck more than 19,000 Russian personnel. Drones alone, excluding artillery, rear area strikes, or ground combat. He projected drone strikes would exceed 34,000 Russian casualties by month's end. Against that, Russia's defense ministry signed roughly 70,000 military service contracts in the first quarter of this year, about 23,000 a month. Losses are outpacing recruitment. Ukraine's defense minister stated plainly that April's goal of inflicting casualties faster than Russia can recruit was met, and a new target of 50,000 Russian casualties per month was set. Picture Putin's dilemma. 100,000 fresh troops are needed to open a northern front. Yet the existing front is consuming men faster than recruitment can replace them. Mobilization is politically sensitive. Contract recruitment is slow and consumed before reaching Cherny. The timing of the nuclear drill suggests a different tactic. Substitute the threat of escalation for the manpower rout. They have regained over 400 square kilometers in the south over winter and spring. Most of Kupiansk is back under Ukrainian control. These are the largest gains since the Kursk incursion in 2024. The real story is not the collapse of a nation, but the failure of a specific plan and a shift in who sets the pace. Ukraine responded to blunting the offensive by reinforcing the northern sector. Trench systems, anti-tank ditches, bunkers, the concrete pyramids called Dragon's Teeth, and layered electronic warfare networks are being established to jam and blind Russian drones. The Cherny approach is being transformed into terrain that chews up any attacking force. This is the same type of ground Russia spent 6 months trying to break through at Kupiansk, suffering massive casualties. Ukraine learned that lesson and is applying it moving forward. If Putin attempts the northern push, he would face fortifications built by those who just witnessed his army fail against a city. Now, the connection to markets. Right now, the factor moving Wall Street is not Ukraine, it is Iran. The Dow closed at a record 50,285 on Thursday. The S&P was around 7,445. The Nasdaq approached 26,300. The engine under this rally is hope that the US and Iran can de-escalate tensions in the Middle East, reducing the risk premium on oil. West Texas crude swings between the mid-90s and $98 a barrel. Brent remains above 100, rising when talks stall, falling when Secretary Rubio says a deal is within reach. This is the front-page geopolitical risk for American portfolios this week. Here's the connecting thread. The market structure of 2026 has a geopolitical bid underneath it. Defense has been a standout trade. The administration plans to raise defense spending toward $1.5 trillion by 2027. Money is flowing to companies benefiting from this on both sides of the Atlantic. When the war underpinning this rearmament cycle visibly stalls, it matters to the long-term thesis of these stocks. A war where the initiative flips and one side cannot replenish ranks is a different scenario. The defense sector has been priced for escalating open-ended conflict. Kupiansk quietly raises the question of whether the escalation has a nearer ceiling than spending plans assume. Energy is a clearer signal. A Russia losing the conventional fight but relying on nuclear drills and missile strikes on cities remains a wild card for European energy and global supply, keeping a floor under oil and a bid under safe havens. Gold and silver have been pushing toward record highs all year under this background anxiety. 2 major geopolitical risk centers are at play. The Middle East, driving daily oil prices, and the Russia-Ukraine war, driving the slower structural story under defense and commodities. Both feed a market climbing a wall of geopolitical worry, rewarding assets that profit from instability. The uncomfortable question is this. The collapse of Russia's northern plan should signal de-escalation, It should indicate that worst-case scenarios are less likely. Yet the market rewards fear, not de-escalation. What happens if the fear thesis erodes? If frontline reality drifts toward a stalled, contained attritional grind that neither side can quickly win, and Russia clearly cannot prevail? That is not a prediction, but a question worth holding in mind regarding the permanence of the geopolitical premium in markets. To close the loop, the failed northern push was meant to be the second front, breaking Ukraine by forcing. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.